You're watching The Run on BEN, the Business and Employment News Network. We're talking about the old fogies in the Republican Party who have the experience and the bipartisan street cred to take on Hillary. First up, Lindsey Graham. He cut his teeth in the South Carolina legislature, then served in the House from 1995 through 2003. As a senator, he's been a reliable conservative voting against Obamacare and gay marriage. But he has been a leader on bipartisan approaches to global warming, immigration, and tax reform. And although he didn't feel good about it, he did vote to confirm President Obama's nominees for the Supreme Court. His reason? He conceded that, quote, this election has consequences. Whatever your differences on domestic policy, isn't Lindsey Graham a statesman who takes governance seriously? Melody?
It's very hard for me to take Lindsey Graham seriously at all, because the meme on the left for him is the fainting couch. Aunt Pity Pat from the Gone with the Wind, that his hysteria over foreign policy, over the terrorists coming to get us in our beds, and he's one of the three with John McCain and Kelly Ayotte, right? That they go overseas a lot, and that they're constantly complaining about our lack of preparedness and the military falling apart. So it's just nothing to take seriously there. He was actually a much more bipartisan senator for a long time. So even in the issues of climate change, he's now totally backed off of that. So that's where you get to where somebody who was a team player before, who now has to run to the right to get credibility with the people that are going to determine the primary. So no, I don't think he has a lot of credibility.
This is another problem with having a longer resume. We can say you've flip-flopped, you've changed on this issue, you've moved yourself to the right. With these newer, younger people, they've set themselves out, they've branded themselves with one brand, they understand branding themselves, they live in a very modern decade, and I don't think the older voters can have a problem voting for them. So here we have Lindsey Graham. You could see a lot of attack flip-flop ads. You used to be, oh look, you reached across the aisle. That's not smiled upon anymore.
Well, some of the things he's flip-flopped on, you mentioned climate change. I mean, what his big flip-flop on climate change was to withdraw support for his own bill,
right.
But as a protest against the leadership in the Democratic Party moving immigration higher up, which he felt was not achievable at a time that he thought the climate change would be achievable. Is that flip-flopping, or is that just expressing a fair
I think it's certainly backing down, whether we want to call it technically flip-flopping. But where is his voice on climate change now? He was one of the leading voices with the fact that we needed to do something about it, and he is utterly silent. And to say, "Oh, I'm going to be silent now because I don't like what the
primaries
Senate,
are coming up. Of course, he's going to be silent on that
right.
issue,
So
right?
that's what I'm saying. Is that where is the conviction?
You can
Does
see
have
that
convictions?
he has an opinion on it, and the opinion is a good one on climate change, and he's moving in that direction. He's working bipartisanly. That's important. We
not
want
anymore.
that.
He's not.
That's
he's
incredibly
not
important. Well, that's because he's about to go into primaries. I mean, be realistic.
All this fits together. One of the worst aspects of American politics is bipartisanship, and most of the awful, evil things in this world happen at the political center, not at the far left or the far right. And one of the things that usually happens at the center is war. The neoliberal types like Bill Clinton like war, and the neoconservative types like Lindsey Graham like war. And it shouldn't be surprising that they're unprincipled and
like war. They like peace through
he's a
strength.
big warmonger.
It's a Reagan peace
He's
through strength approach. That's
he's
his approach.
He is.
The military-industrial establishment is beloved by moderates of both parties. That's the disturbing truth.
Russia, China, and terrorists right now are making gains, okay? You need someone like Lindsey Graham to stand up against those guys.
On domestic policy, though, I mean, he took the pledge from Grover Norquist not to raise taxes under any circumstances. No, I really promise. But then he actually worked in 2012 to close corporate loopholes during one of the many, near shutdown events. I mean, isn't that the kind of flip-flop you'd like to see?
I think that they haven't even defined that amongst themselves on the right, because there are some people that say closing corporate loopholes or enforcing the laws that already exist is not new taxes. So it depends, I think, on that question, on who you're asking. He did have a strong in his home state, when he last election for senator, there was a move to try to oust him because they felt that he was not conservative enough. And then you can see that exact switch when that happened, where suddenly he became, oh yes, he had to prove his conservative credentials, and became really rather silly on some issues.
But it's in the last few years that he's been more aggressive about closing down some of the corporate loopholes.
Right, but I'm saying there are people on the left, even Grover Norquist there's some issues where he says that it doesn't count as new taxes if you know,
if it's a user fee, if it's regressive
user
enough,
fee,
yeah.
or yes, you know, so corporate loopholes. These already exist, so that would not be a new tax, right?
Right, Heather.
Are we gonna, it's coming down to, I don't know how the Republicans are gonna vote this time. It's gonna be a fascinating year. Are they gonna vote sort of on these electability ideas? You know, is he electable? You know, arguably these things that are more centrist make him more electable, or are they going to vote on these idealistic, more conservative values, and then he's not gonna be the choice.
Also, just to you know, it's not fair, but there will be personal attacks, because one of what they went after him for, you know, trying to say he's not conservative enough is there is a lot of people out there who sort of, you know, the whispering campaign that he's gay. He's a single man. He's never been married. He never has any kind of partner. So I think because he's never run before, he hasn't really been in the national spotlight. He's had free reign to go around screaming his theories with John McCain, and no one's called him on it, right? But if he's really going to get into the race, he's really going to be held accountable now for all of his long history, but also some of these personal issues that are ugly, but they will come out.
And if he does end up running against Hillary, that would mean that both candidates had rumors of being gay or bi, which would be, I suppose, an exciting step forward culturally.
What about some of the centrist positions there? Maybe they're not centrist per se, but on guns, for example, he has said, I'm pro-gun, I'm a Second Amendment guy, but the NRA has actually walked back their endorsements of him because he has said at post-Sandy Hook, some of this stuff is crazy, some of the stuff we need to... you know, he points, for example, to the woman who tried to assassinate George W. Bush, and she pled not guilty by reason of insanity, and then she was able, nonetheless, to pass a subsequent background check and acquire a firearm. He says this is madness. Not everybody on the right will even go that far. Isn't this exactly the kind of principled compromiser that America's looking for?
Yes, he's an independent thinker. Right? And we need an independent thinker who's not purely thinking in doctrinaire leftist or doctrinaire rightist ways.
Right.
We also need someone with a backbone. And I mean, you know, if he said that and he means it, and of course it makes it
moderates can have backbone,
but he has but he's not. He's run away from all of it.
I think Jonathan's question is the first time I've heard the words principled and compromiser abutted like that. The great tragedy of American politics for the last several decades is that people think statesmanship and maturity means being a moderate, centrist, bipartisan type who has long experience in government and likes war and foreign policy and mercantilist policies.
Doesn't like war.
All of that's horrible.
So do Melody and Todd agree that you don't like Lindsey Graham because he's not quite consistently conservative enough for you to hate him?
I think, yes, probably. That's a good way to phrase it.
Okay, when we come back, Lindsey Graham, a hawk's hawk on foreign policy. Stick with The Run.